Today, let's talk about DICOM history and how all this DICOM stuff got started. So, way back, long time ago, probably for most of you were born in 1982, there was a PACS administrator named Fred. Fred was trying to connect his hospital's first digital CT scanner to the network. Fred found it very difficult to get the CT scanner to connect to the network and have it talk to the PACS system. His GE CT scanner and AGFA PACS system did not speak a common language. Fred spent many hours trying to get the CT scanner to work with the PACS system. So both of these pieces of equipment had vendor-specific language. GE only spoke GE, AGFA only spoke AGFA. It would be like trying to get somebody who only spoke Spanish to talk to somebody who only spoke German. You had to figure out the translation to make it work, and it was very difficult. And every time you had two new vendors, you had the same problem. Each time Fred had to connect or send data to a new device, he had the same problems. He tried working with the vendors to use one common language, but they weren't very helpful. It wasn't in the vendor's best interest in the early to middle 80s to try to make some magical universal language that would work with everybody else's stuff. That would take their time and their resources, and everybody would just copy it. And they didn't want to do that. There was no profit in that, to be honest about it. So every time you had, once you figured out how to make GE talk to AGFA, well, then you got a Toshiba ultrasound card. Well, now your Toshiba had to talk to your AGFA. Every time you had to reinvent that translation from one vendor's language to another vendor's language. And so this resulted in everybody's PACS system having pretty much a custom network. So Fred sat down, he talked to another PACS admin named Barney, and they discovered they both faced these connection challenges and had spent hours developing custom fixes for them. And each facility's medical imaging network was a custom-made solution with no standardization. So Fred and Barney decided something had to be done and set a conference call with the American College of Radiology. So as we progress through the 80s, what happens is how I fix these problems in my hospital is how I do it, and how another PACS admin does it in his hospital is his way of doing it. And so everybody's network started off as a custom-built network. No two were alike. And that's when the American College of Radiology partnered with the National Electrical Manufacturers Association, NEMA. ACR and NEMA got together because the National Electrical Manufacturers Association is the overseeing body of all the vendors' equipment. The CT scanners are under that organization, and radiology is obviously under the American College of Radiology. So, in 1983, they got together to develop a vendor-neutral standard language for PACS and medical imaging devices. One language that everybody would use and everybody could understand. So it took 2 years of work, and in 1985, ACR and NEMA produced the first DICOM standard. It was DICOM 1.0, and it had a whole bunch of problems. It only provided a standard for how to connect the devices, not how to actually share the data. Just, hey, put this on this part of the network, put your PACS on this part of the network, and then they'll be able to connect, but they still couldn't talk to each other. So it was pretty much ignored by the vendors and PACS admins like Fred, and everybody was unhappy. So ACR and NEMA went back to work, and they came out with DICOM 2.0 in 1988. This version was better, and it was widely accepted by vendors and PACS admins alike. It still had some problems. It didn't apply to MRI or bone density units, and it lacked query retrieve, the ability to send something and then pull it back to the original point of origin. And it worked with device-to-device connections, but it didn't work over an entire hospital wide area network. So once again, a new standard was needed. But DICOM 2.0 was the first one where both the vendors and the PACS admins sat down and said, okay, this is, we're going to do this, and everybody's going to do it this way. And we'll put an end to that custom network stuff. So finally, ACR and NEMA went back to work again, and they developed DICOM 3.0, which was released in 1993. And most places use DICOM 3.0 today. DICOM 3.0 contains both the network protocols and the file information data to allow Fred and Barney to easily connect devices to their network and share data across the network. Now DICOM networks generally work the same way in most hospitals. Now there's a standard way to connect medical devices to a DICOM network. Now everybody does DICOM. Nobody would buy a piece of equipment in this day and age that didn't do DICOM. Now, since 1993, there has been one update to DICOM. So let me just extend this slide a little longer. Most places now use DICOM 3.1. DICOM 4.0 has been under construction for many years, and they're still working on it. DICOM 4.0 will probably come out before you finish this college degree. So by the time you get to the workforce, we'll probably be on DICOM 4.0. But right now, today, pretty much everybody uses DICOM 3.1. And it is the standard by which all PACS systems and all devices talk to each other to move medical images around the network. Thank you.